Hi, welcome to another lesson in my tips series. In today's session, we will learn how to verify the absence of an element without getting an exception and not interrupting the test script. So, why is this important? Most definitely, it is important, especially when you have a website that has multiple roles. In example, you don't want a feature that is available for an admin user to be visible to a standard user. And I personally have used this concept in quite a few projects in my test career. So we'll go into the sandbox for now, and we will verify a element that's not visible here in our test script without an exception and without any interruption. So let's dive in. Also, again, just a reminder, the whole code of this is on GitHub. I'm going to leave a link to my GitHub account on this video so you can go ahead and download it and use it. So let's go into our IntelliJ and go into source folder, under the test folder, going to expand this under the automation tips package. Let's create a new class and let's call it tip to verify element is not visible. And in here, I'm just going to copy and paste the before and after method in our first class. This whole section here. I am not going to rewrite this. Very nice. And the test URL I'm going to change to this URL here. Very nice. So let me go ahead and create a test method. First, let me add the test annotation. And then I'm going to create a method by giving it a name. Verify element is not visible. So let's start first of all by reverse engineering. First, let's explore how we verify the visibility of an element, right? Verify the visibility of an element. And then secondly, we're going to reverse engineer this and verify that an element is not visible, right? The reason why we do this, as I've explained in the intro, there could be situations where there could be multiple roles in application, and there could be features which should not be visible to different roles. An example, there could be a super admin role that has access to very important and crucial locations where regular users should not be seeing it. So we have to verify that those features are not visible to the regular user and that they're only visible to the super admin user. Right, so second, I'm going to reverse engineer this and I'm going to come up with a script where I can verify that an element is not visible. So usually in Selenium, what we do is we have this method here, try to find element by, we just put by XPath and then an empty string. Let me import this class. And then if I say period and I type is displayed, this function here or this method here is going to return a boolean where I can verify that an element is visible, right? And let's try this out. Let's see how we can do this. I'm just going to verify that this button here is visible on this certain page. So let me say inspect. I'm going to use my crow path again. And let me copy this and pass it on to my XPath here. And let's put this into a Boolean. Let's say Boolean flag equals to this. And let's make a short, make an assertion assert true and pass on the flag into this assertion. What I'm expecting is that my website is going to launch. After it launches in the before method, this here is going to verify that the test button here is visible, and it's going to return me a Boolean variable here, and it's going to be assigned, that is going to be assigned to the flag here. And finally, I'm going to pass on the flag to the assert true method in my assertion and verify that the element is visible. So let's execute this. So the browser is going to launch. It's going to check this button, and as you can see, it has verified that that button is visible. Okay. What I usually do and I like doing is I create a different method where I can pull in that information instead of every time writing this whole thing here, right? It's not very useful. I'd like to create a method where I can just send parameters and retrieve certain information back that I can use in my script to verify what I want to verify. So let me put this in action. Let's say void verify element is displayed. Okay. And I want this to return a Boolean, actually, not void. And I also, let me write this function here first. Boolean flag equals false. And I'm going to return this flag here. So we say return flag. And then in between this, I'm going to write my script. So I say flag. That's the variable I'd like to return to my script and my test. And I say flag equal to the same code here. Okay. So let's execute this, and let's say Boolean flag here. And let me just comment this out. And let's run this test here through this method. So I'm going to say Boolean flag equals false. And I'm going to say flag equals verify element is displayed. What I'm expecting here is that the flag is going to get a variable assigned that is returned by this method here. Let's try this out. Let's see what it looks like. And let me put a debugger here and run this in debug mode, so it's going to be more clear when we see what's happening in this code on the console. So let me say debug verify element is not visible. Let's run this test in debug mode. So in debug mode, what is going to happen is the test or the code is going to run to the 46 row and it's going to stop here. And if I click this, it's going to continue. And in wherever it stops, I can see what's happening in my code. So as you can see here, there's a driver instance. So there's a test URL variable, and my flag is set to true, whereas it was false here because the element here is displayed. It's a true statement. Therefore, the flag is set to true. It returns the true Boolean value and is getting assigned to the flag variable here in my test script. So if I just click this, resume program, it continues and I can see that the assertion is true since flag is set to true. So let me create a new method. Let me just copy and paste this actually. Before I go into that, let me make this more dynamic. Meaning, can I send certain parameters through this method so I can reuse it whenever I want to? Meaning, in this method, um, there's only one static variable, which is the locator here, right? Or the string here that you can see. So if I can pass this string in my parameter, I can reuse this method over and over again by calling it wherever I need to. Or I can just pass on the whole by locator here, pass on that information, I can get the same thing. But let's use a string in this case. So let's say string um, locator, XPath locator. All right. Let me copy and paste this somewhere where I can use it later on. Comment this out. And I want this XPath locator to be passed on into here, right? So this string is passed on to the by.xpath method and then it's executed. So now, of course, I'm getting an error here, so I'm just going to replace this and put it into my method. So again, if I remove this here, save it and run it, let me execute this. I should be getting the same response, but there's a problem someplace, expected in 46. Of course, there's a problem here because we don't want it commented in there. We just want it like as a string. So let me save it again and then execute it. Run my program. My browser is launched. The element is checked, and yes, it's a pass. Let me take it a step further, make this actually a little more intelligent, this one here. Because for now, we're only passing on XPaths, right? XPath strings per se. But what if there's an element where I cannot find it as an XPath, but I can find it as in different, like as an ID or as a link or other forms of ways where I can find my element, right? So what I'm going to do is here the following. I'm just going to create a variable that has a data type by, right? So let's say by, and let's call it locator equals to by.xpath. I'm just going to copy and paste this into this. So now I have a locator that has a data type by. So if I change this to by and I call this locator, I copy this, so now I can replace this whole thing, right? Because I'm not looking for by.xpath. I'm not looking to execute this. I already did this here, right? This is just going to take, if I pass this locator into this is just going to take a look at this, which means it's more flexible for me. Why? Because now I can find a locator by other things, like by ID, whatever you want here. Now my method is more intelligent because now I can pass on a locator and I can put it in here, and I can control it in my script now. I don't have to necessarily pass on a string that has to have a XPath in it. So let me go ahead and change this here too and run this again. Save and run. Launches the browser, takes a look at the element, and then checks it if it's visible or not, and executes my test and my assertion, and it's true, therefore the test passed. All right, so but my goal in this tutorial is not to find an element, it's to verify that an element is not visible. So let me create a new method for this and say Boolean verify element is not displayed. Okay. You copy and paste this here for now. I'm going to change it, but just, to make it easier. And let's also pass a locator in here. All right, so this is going to do the same thing. Right, it's just going to look for the element and verify that it is displayed, return a Boolean, and assign it to the flag. But what I want to do is I want to verify that an element is not visible. Okay, because if, let's say, if I put something random in here and then run this, let me execute this. And let me put a debug. Actually, let me run this in debug mode. And let me execute it in debug mode. Okay. Flag is false. All right. If I continue this, okay, what happened? Let's take a look. Let me make this bigger. I'm getting an exception, a no such element exception, right? Because I directly just looked into this here, and my code wasn't able to continue its execution because it just got stuck here, right? So to overcome this, what I'm going to do in this method here, which I'm going to use next in my next text run, I'm just going to add this into a try catch block. I'm going to say try, and then say catch, exception E, it doesn't matter. All right. I'm going to say try this, try to find this, okay, and then assign it to my flag. If you can assign it to my flag, it's true. So the element is visible. But that's not what I want. I want to verify this here and then actually put this over here. What I want to have is to try this, and if the code is not able to execute this, it's going to get an exception, and I would like to control the exception. So in the exception block here, I want to set the flag to true. Okay. So it's going to take a look here into the driver.findElement method. I'm going to remove this actually because I don't need this. I don't need to assign this to anything. Because the logic is the following. My locator is passed, my Boolean flag is set to false, and the locator is passed into this method here, driver.findElement is displayed. If this is executed, right, it's not going to go into the catch block. It's going to skip this. Therefore, the flag will stay at false, right? Because it's only changing when it's an exception, when an exception occurs. So if this is not executed properly, this code here, an exception occurs, and then the flag is set to true. Therefore, the flag that is returned in this code is going to be true. So let's give it a try. I just put an arbitrary XPath here. This is an element that should not be visible. Let me change this here to verify element is not displayed. So if I put this in here and then save this, so now what I expect is the following is that, let me make this, that's good. Okay, let me just remove these empty spaces here too. Okay, let me save again. All right, so the locator that's been passed is a locator that's not in this web page, right? It's not existing. It's a non-existent web page. But I want to run it and get the correct flag based on the locator, and I'd like to run my test case, an assertion, assert true that the element is not visible, like reverse engineer it, right? So let's go ahead and save this again and then execute it. So it launches my web page, checks out the element, it's not there. It's going to go to the catch block, set my flag to true, and pass the test, as you can see here. Right? So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to verify that the element is not visible. I hope this was helpful, and again, like and subscribe to my channel. All this code is going to be available for you on GitHub. I'm going to leave it in the description as I mentioned before. Thanks very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.